Welcome to Tech with Kaushik. This is part 12 of our complete practice question series for the CLF-C02 AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner exam. Choose your answer before the timer ends, then review the correct answer, explanation, and exam tip. Let us begin part 12. Question number 605. An organization needs to migrate to the AWS cloud. The company needs the ability to acquire resources when the resources are necessary. The company also needs the ability to release those resources when the resources are no longer necessary. What architecture concept of the AWS cloud meets these requirements? Option A, elasticity. Option B, availability. Option C, reliability. Option D, durability. The correct answer is A, elasticity. Here is why. Elasticity acquires resources as demand increases and releases them when they are no longer required. Why are the other options not correct? B, availability concerns continued access to a workload. C, reliability concerns correct operation and recovery from failures. D, durability concerns long-term preservation of data. Exam tip. Elasticity dynamically matches capacity to changing demand. Question number 606. An organization needs to deploy a web application as a containerized application. The company needs to use a managed service that can automatically create container images from source code and deploy the containerized application. What AWS service can satisfy these requirements? Option A, AWS Elastic Beanstalk. Option B, Amazon Elastic Container Service, Amazon ECS. Option C, AWS App Runner. Option D, Amazon EC2. The correct answer is C, AWS App Runner. Here is why. App Runner can build a container image from source code and automatically deploy and operate the resulting web application through a managed service. Why are the other options not correct? A, Elastic Beanstalk deploys applications, but is not the direct managed source-to-container service described. B, Amazon ECS requires the customer to supply and configure the container deployment. D, Amazon EC2 requires the company to manage servers and the container runtime. Exam tip. App Runner historically provided a direct source code to manage container workflow. Question number 607. An organization has moved all its infrastructure to the AWS cloud. To plan ahead for each quarter, the finance team needs to track the cost and usage data of all resources from previous months. The finance team needs to automatically generate reports that contains the data. What AWS service or feature should the finance team use to satisfy these requirements? Option A, Amazon Detective. Option B, AWS Pricing Calculator. Option C, AWS Budgets. Option D, AWS Savings Plans. The correct answer is C, AWS Budgets. Here is why. AWS Budgets tracks account-wide cost and usage and can automatically send scheduled reports containing selected budget performance information. Why are the other options not correct? A, Detective investigates security findings and related activity. B, Pricing Calculator estimates the cost of planned AWS workloads. D, Savings plans provide commitment-based compute discounts. Exam tip. Budgets tracks cost or usage against limits and supports scheduled reports. Question number 608. What AWS Cloud Adoption Framework, AWS CLF, perspective focuses on real-time insights and answers questions about strategy? Option A, operations. Option B, people. Option C, business. Option D, platform. The correct answer is C. Business. Here is why. The AWS CF Business Perspective includes business insights, which uses timely data to answer strategic business questions and improve decisions. Why are the other options not correct? A. Operations focuses on running and supporting cloud workloads. B. People focuses on culture, skills, organization, and change. D. Platform focuses on infrastructure and application delivery. Exam tip: CF Business connects cloud adoption to strategy and business outcomes. Question number 609. An organization needs to migrate critical on-premises production systems to Amazon EC2 instances. The production instances will be used for at least 3 years. The company wants a pricing option that will minimize cost. What solution can satisfy these requirements? Option A. On-demand instances. Option B. Reserved instances. Option C. Spot instances. Option D. AWS free tier. The correct answer is B. Reserved instances. Here is why. Reserved instances provide discounted EC2 pricing for predictable, continuous workloads when the company commits for 1 or 3 years. Why are the other options not correct? A. On-demand instances avoid commitments but normally cost more over 3 years. C. Spot instances can be interrupted and do not suit critical production systems. D. The AWS free tier does not cover a 3-year production workload. Exam tip: use commitments for predictable workloads that run continuously. Question number 610. What AWS well-architected framework concept represents a system's ability to remain functional when the system encounters operational problems? Option A. Consistency. Option B. Elasticity. Option C. Durability. Option D. Latency. The correct answer is C. Durability. Here is why. Among the listed options, durability is the intended answer because it represents continued preservation and resilience when failures or operational problems occur. Why are the other options not correct? A. Consistency concerns predictable data or system behavior, not failure recovery. B. Elasticity adjusts capacity as demand changes. D. Latency measures the delay in processing or delivering a response. Exam tip: AWS normally calls continued operation during failures reliability or fault tolerance. Question number 611. What pillar of the AWS well-architected framework focuses on the ability to recover automatically from service interruptions? Option A. Security. Option B. Performance efficiency. Option C. Operational excellence. Option D. Reliability. The correct answer is D. Reliability. Here is why. Reliability includes recovering automatically from infrastructure or service disruptions and continuing to perform the intended function. Why are the other options not correct? A. Security focuses on protecting information, systems, and assets. B. Performance efficiency focuses on efficient resource use. C. Operational excellence focuses on operations and continuous improvement. Exam tip: reliability covers failure recovery, resilience, and consistent operation. Question number 612. An organization has multiple SQL-based databases located in a data center. The company needs to migrate all database servers to the AWS cloud to reduce the cost of operating physical servers. What AWS service or resource can satisfy these requirements with the least operational overhead? Option A. Amazon EC2 instances. Option B. Amazon RDS. Option C. Amazon DynamoDB. Option D. OpenSearch. The correct answer is B. Amazon RDS. Here is why. Amazon RDS hosts supported SQL databases and manages infrastructure, backups, patching, and routine database administration. Why are the other options not correct? A. Databases on EC2 require more operating system and database administration. C. DynamoDB is a NoSQL key value and document database. D. OpenSearch is a search and analytics service. Exam tip: RDS reduces operational overhead for supported relational databases. Question number 613. An organization needs to build, train, and deploy machine learning (ML) models. What AWS service can the company use to satisfy this requirement? Option A. Amazon Personalize. Option B. Amazon Comprehend. Option C. Amazon Forecast. Option D. Amazon SageMaker. The correct answer is D. Amazon SageMaker. Here is why. SageMaker AI provides managed capabilities to build, train, evaluate, and deploy machine learning models. Why are the other options not correct? A. Personalize creates recommendation experiences. B. Comprehend extracts insights from text. C. Forecast creates time series forecasts. Exam tip: SageMaker AI supports the complete machine learning development lifecycle. Question number 614. What AWS service or tool provides recommendations to help users get right-sized Amazon EC2 instances based on historical workload? Usage data? Option A. AWS Pricing Calculator. Option B. AWS Compute Optimizer. Option C. AWS App Runner. Option D. AWS Systems Manager. The correct answer is B. AWS Compute Optimizer. Here is why. Compute Optimizer analyzes historical utilization metrics and recommends right-sized EC2 instance types and configurations. Why are the other options not correct? A. Pricing Calculator estimates costs for planned workloads. C. App Runner deploys and runs web applications. D. Systems Manager operates and manages supported AWS resources. Exam tip: Compute Optimizer recommends configurations from observed utilization. Question number 615. An organization needs to explore and analyze data in Amazon S3 by using a programming language. What AWS service can satisfy these requirements? Option A. Amazon Kyndra. Option B. Amazon Athena. Option C. Amazon Comprehend. Option D. Amazon SageMaker. The correct answer is D. Amazon SageMaker. Here is why. SageMaker notebooks provide programming environments such as Python for exploring, preparing, and analyzing data stored in Amazon S3. Why are the other options not correct? A. Kyndra provides intelligent enterprise search. B. Athena primarily analyzes data in S3 by using SQL. C. Comprehend analyzes natural language text with managed AI capabilities. Exam tip: SageMaker notebooks support coded data exploration and ML workflows. Question number 616. An organization needs to run an application on Amazon EC2 instances without interruption. What EC2 instance purchasing option can satisfy this requirement most cost-effectively? Option A. Standard reserved instances. Option B. Convertible reserved instances. Option C. On-demand instances. Option D. Spot instances. The correct answer is A. Standard reserved instances. Here is why. For a predictable application that will run continuously, standard reserved instances provide a larger discount than convertible reserved instances and are not subject to spot instance interruption. Why are the other options not correct? B. Convertible reserved instances offer more flexibility, but a smaller discount than standard reserved instances. C. On-demand instances avoid long-term commitments, but generally cost more for continuous, predictable usage. D. Spot instances can be interrupted by Amazon EC2, and therefore, do not satisfy the no interruption requirement. Exam tip: use standard reserved instances for stable, predictable EC2 usage when maximum discount is more important than configuration flexibility. Question number 617. An organization wants a fully managed service that centralizes and automates data protection across AWS services and hybrid workloads. What AWS service can satisfy these requirements? Option A. AWS Artifact. Option B. AWS Backup. Option C. AWS Batch. Option D. AWS Shield. The correct answer is B. AWS Backup. Here is why. AWS Backup centrally automates backup policies, schedules, retention, monitoring, and recovery across supported AWS services and hybrid workloads. Why are the other options not correct? A. Artifact provides compliance reports and agreements. C. AWS Batch runs batch computing jobs. D. AWS Shield provides managed DDoS protection. Exam tip: AWS Backup centralizes policy-based data protection across supported services. Question number 618. An organization plans to migrate its application from on-premises to the AWS cloud. The company needs to gather usage and configuration data for the application components. What AWS service can satisfy these requirements? Option A. AWS Database Migration Service, AWS DMS. Option B. AWS Transfer Family. Option C. AWS Application Discovery Service. Option D. AWS Global Accelerator. The correct answer is C. AWS Application Discovery Service. Here is why. Application Discovery Service historically gathered usage, configuration, and dependency data for application components before migration. Why are the other options not correct? A. AWS DMS migrates supported databases and can provide ongoing replication. B. Transfer Family provides managed file transfer endpoints. D. Global Accelerator improves network performance and availability for applications. Exam tip: Discovery collects migration planning data. It does not perform the migration itself. Question number 619. An organization needs to provide low latency to its users around the world. What feature of the AWS cloud satisfy this requirement? Option A. Global infrastructure. Option B. Pay-as-you-go pricing. Option C. Managed services. Option D. Economy of scale. The correct answer is A. Global infrastructure. Here is why. AWS regions, availability zones, and edge locations let companies deploy resources and content closer to users around the world to reduce latency. Why are the other options not correct? B. Pay-as-you-go pricing is a cloud economics benefit. C. Managed services reduce infrastructure administration. D. Economies of scale help reduce per-unit costs. Exam tip: Global infrastructure places workloads and content closer to worldwide users. Question number 620. What type of workload should a company run on Amazon EC2 spot instances? Option A. A steady-state workload that requires a particular EC2 instance configuration for a long period of time. Option B. A workload that can be interrupted and can control costs. Option C. A steady-state workload that does not require a long-term commitment. Option D. A workload that cannot be interrupted and can control costs. The correct answer is B. A workload that can be interrupted and can control costs. Here is why. Spot instances use discounted spare EC2 capacity and are appropriate for workloads that can tolerate interruption. Why are the other options not correct? A. Long-running fixed workloads can benefit from commitment-based pricing. C. Uninterruptible workloads without commitment generally use on-demand. D. Spot capacity is not suitable for workloads that cannot be interrupted. Exam tip. Spot provides low cost in exchange for possible interruption. Question number 621. An organization has multiple AWS accounts. The company needs to receive a consolidated bill from AWS and must centrally manage security and compliance. What AWS service or feature should the company use to satisfy these requirements? Option A. AWS Cost and Usage Report. Option B. AWS Organizations. Option C. AWS Config. Option D. AWS Security Hub. The correct answer is B. AWS Organizations. Here is why. AWS Organizations provides consolidated billing and centralized multi-account governance through organizational units and policy controls. Why are the other options not correct? A. Cost and usage reports provide detailed billing data. C. AWS Config evaluates resource configurations and compliance. D. Security Hub aggregates security findings. Exam tip. Organizations combines account governance with consolidated billing. Question number 622. An organization has developed a new in-house application. The company does not have a way to determine or predict the usage demand that the application will create. What AWS cloud computing benefit is the company seeking? Option A. Easy to use. Option B. Cost-effective. Option C. Secure. Option D. Scalable and high performance. The correct answer is D. Scalable and high performance. Here is why. AWS resources can scale as unpredictable demand changes, allowing the application to maintain capacity and performance without fixed forecasts. Why are the other options not correct? A. Ease of use does not directly solve unpredictable capacity requirements. B. Cost effectiveness is a benefit, but does not describe demand handling. C. Security does not address unknown application usage levels. Exam tip. Scalability helps workloads handle uncertain or growing demand. Question number 623. What AWS offering can analyze a company's AWS environment to discover security vulnerabilities on Amazon EC2 instances? Option A. Amazon Inspector. Option B. Amazon May-C. Option C. AWS Shield Standard. Option D. Security Groups. The correct answer is A. Amazon Inspector. Here is why. Amazon Inspector continuously scans supported EC2 workloads for software vulnerabilities and unintended network exposure. Why are the other options not correct? B. May-C discovers and helps protect sensitive data in Amazon S3. C. Shield Standard provides baseline DDoS protection. D. Security groups enforce traffic rules but do not scan for vulnerabilities. Exam tip. Inspector finds vulnerabilities. Guard duty detects suspicious activity. Question number 624. An organization plans to onboard new employees that will be working remotely. The company needs to set up Windows virtual desktops to create a working environment for the new employees. The employees must be able to access the working environment from anywhere and by using their computer or a web browser. What AWS service or feature can satisfy these requirements? Option A, dedicated hosts. Option B, AWS Global Accelerator. Option C, Amazon Workspaces. Option D, Amazon CloudFront. The correct answer is C, Amazon Workspaces. Here is why. Amazon Workspaces provides managed virtual desktops that employees can access remotely through supported clients or a web browser. Why are the other options not correct? A. Dedicated hosts provide dedicated physical EC2 servers. B. Global Accelerator improves global application network performance. D. CloudFront caches and delivers content through edge locations. Exam tip: Workspaces provides managed cloud desktops for remote employees. Question number 625. What AWS service supports MySQL database engines? Option A, Amazon DynamoDB. Option B, Amazon RDS. Option C, Amazon DocumentDB with MongoDB compatibility. Option D, Amazon Elastic Cache. The correct answer is B, Amazon RDS. Here is why. Amazon RDS supports managed MySQL database instances and automates common administrative tasks. Why are the other options not correct? A. DynamoDB is a NoSQL key value and document database. C. DocumentDB is compatible with MongoDB workloads. D. Elastic Cache provides managed in-memory caching. Exam tip: RDS supports relational engines such as MySQL and PostgreSQL. The correct answer is B. Sell the standard risks on the Amazon EC2 Reserved Instance Marketplace. Here is why. Eligible and used standard reserved instances can be listed for sale on the Amazon EC2 Reserved Instance Marketplace. Why are the other options not correct? A. AWS support does not sell reserved instances on the customer's behalf. C. AWS Marketplace is for software and service products, not RI resale. D. Standard reserved instances cannot be converted into savings plans. Exam tip: and used standard RIs can be sold on the reserved instance marketplace. Question number 627. An organization is releasing a business-critical application. Before the release, the company needs strategic planning assistance from AWS. During the release, the company needs AWS infrastructure event management and real-time support. What should the company do to satisfy these requirements? Option A. Access AWS Trusted Advisor. Option B. Contact the AWS Partner Network, APN. Option C. Sign up for AWS Enterprise Support. Option D. Contact AWS Professional Services. The correct answer is C. Sign up for AWS Enterprise Support. Here is why. Enterprise Support provides strategic guidance, a designated TAM, critical event support through AWS Countdown, and rapid production support. Why are the other options not correct? A. Trusted Advisor provides recommendations, but not real-time release assistance. B. AWS partners provide services, but do not replace the required AWS support plan. D. Professional services provides project engagements, not ongoing critical support. Exam tip. Enterprise support adds TAM-led strategic and critical event assistance. Question number 628. An organization needs to improve employee productivity by providing a way for employees to search for questions and retrieve specific answers. The company needs to use a single intelligent search interface. What AWS service can satisfy these requirements? Option A. Amazon Connect. Option B. Amazon Kindra. Option C. Amazon Lex. Option D. Amazon Comprehend. The correct answer is B. Amazon Kindra. Here is why. Amazon Kindra is an intelligent enterprise search service that lets employees search organizational content and retrieve relevant answers. Why are the other options not correct? A. Amazon Connect provides a managed cloud contact center. C. Amazon Lex builds conversational chat and voice interfaces. D. Amazon Comprehend extracts insights from natural language text. Exam tip. Kindra provides intelligent search across enterprise information sources. Question number 629. An organization needs to run its application's code without having to provision and manage servers. What AWS service can satisfy this requirement? Option A. AWS Glue. Option B. AWS Lambda. Option C. AWS Code Deploy. Option D. Amazon Code Guru. The correct answer is B. AWS Lambda. Here is why. Lambda runs application code in response to events without requiring the company to provision or manage servers. Why are the other options not correct? A. AWS Glue is a serverless data integration service. C. Code Deploy automates application deployments. D. Code Guru provides code quality and performance recommendations. Exam tip. Lambda runs event-driven code without server management. Question number 630. An organization needs to allow its employees to work remotely from home. The company's employees use Windows or Linux desktops. The company's employees need access from anywhere and at any time by using any supported devices. What AWS service can satisfy these requirements? Option A. Amazon Workspaces. Option B. Amazon AppStream 2.0. Option C. Amazon Keyspaces for Apache Cassandra. Option D. AWS Cloud 9. The correct answer is A. Amazon Workspaces. Here is why. Amazon Workspaces provides managed Windows or Linux virtual desktops that employees can access remotely from supported devices. Why are the other options not correct? B. AppStream 2.0 streams individual applications rather than persistent desktops. C. Keyspaces is a managed Cassandra-compatible database. D. Cloud 9 is a cloud-based development environment. Exam tip. Workspaces provides complete cloud desktops. AppStream streams applications. Question number 631. An organization needs to test a new application. What AWS principle will help the company test the application? Option A. Make long-term commitments in exchange for a cost discount. Option B. Scale up and down when needed without any long-term commitments. Option C. Have total control over the application infrastructure. Option D. Manage all of the maintenance tasks associated with the cloud. The correct answer is B. Scale up and down when needed without any long-term commitments. Here is why. AWS lets the company provision resources for testing and release them afterward without purchasing hardware or making a long-term commitment. Why are the other options not correct? A. Long-term commitments reduce flexibility for temporary testing. C. Total infrastructure control is not required to test an application. D. AWS reduces many infrastructure maintenance responsibilities. Exam tip: on-demand resources make experimentation faster and less costly. Question number 632. An organization plans to launch an e-commerce website that contains many images for a product catalog. The company needs to keep the cost of running the website within a specific budget. What AWS service or tool should the company use to monitor the ongoing costs of the website? Option A. AWS Cost Explorer. Option B. AWS SDKs. Option C. EC2 Image Builder. Option D. AWS Cloud Formation. The correct answer is A. AWS Cost Explorer. Here is why. Cost Explorer visualizes and analyzes ongoing AWS cost and usage, helping the company track website spending over time. Why are the other options not correct? B. AWS SDKs let applications interact programmatically with AWS services. C. EC2 Image Builder creates and maintains machine images. D. Cloud Formation provisions infrastructure from templates. Exam tip: Cost Explorer analyzes AWS spending. AWS budgets alerts on thresholds. Question number 633. An organization has deployed several public applications behind application load balancers. The company needs to improve the performance of the applications. What AWS service can satisfy these requirements? Option A. AWS Global Accelerator. Option B. Amazon Connect. Option C. Amazon Elastic Cache. Option D. Amazon CloudWatch. The correct answer is A. AWS Global Accelerator. Here is why. Global Accelerator routes users through the AWS Global Network to healthy application load balancer endpoints, improving performance and availability. Why are the other options not correct? B. Amazon Connect is a managed cloud contact center service. C. Elastic Cache improves database and application response times through caching. D. CloudWatch monitors metrics, logs, and alarms. Exam tip: Global Accelerator improves network performance for global application endpoints. Question number 634. An organization is learning about the perspectives of the AWS Cloud Adoption Framework, AWS CAF. What perspective of the AWS CAF addresses the strategy management capability? Option A. Business perspective. Option B. People perspective. Option C. Governance perspective. Option D. Operations perspective. The correct answer is A. Business perspective. Here is why. Strategy management is an AWS CF business perspective capability that aligns cloud initiatives with business goals and strategic advantages. Why are the other options not correct? B. People focuses on culture, skills, leadership, and organizational change. C. Governance focuses on oversight, benefits, risks, and cloud financial management. D. Operations focuses on operating and supporting cloud workloads. Exam tip: CF Business connects cloud adoption with strategy and business outcomes. Question number 635. An organization needs to consolidate its call centers to improve the customer voice and chat experience with call center agents. What AWS service or tool can satisfy these requirements? Option A. Amazon Simple Notification Service, Amazon SNS. Option B. AWS Support Center. Option C. Amazon Cognito. Option D. Amazon Connect. The correct answer is D. Amazon Connect. Here is why. Amazon Connect is a managed cloud contact center service that supports customer voice, chat, and agent experiences. Why are the other options not correct? A. Amazon SNS provides publish-subscribe messaging and notifications. B. AWS Support Center manages support cases. C. Amazon Cognito provides application sign-up, authentication, and authorization. Exam tip: Amazon Connect provides managed voice and chat contact center capabilities. Question number 636. An organization needs to provision uninterruptible Amazon EC2 instances when needed and pay for compute capacity by the second. What EC2 instance purchasing option can satisfy these requirements? Option A. Reserved instances. Option B. Spot instances. Option C. On-demand instances. Option D. Dedicated instances. The correct answer is C. On-demand instances. Here is why. On-demand instances provide uninterruptible compute when needed, require no long-term commitment, and use per-second billing for supported instances. Why are the other options not correct? A. Reserved instances require a term commitment. B. Spot instances can be interrupted by AWS. D. Dedicated instances address hardware isolation rather than flexible pricing. Exam tip: use on-demand for flexible, interruption-intolerant workloads without commitment. Question number 637. An organization needs to block SQL injection attacks. What AWS service or feature provides this functionality? Option A. AWS WAF. Option B. Network ACLs. Option C. Security groups. Option D. AWS Trusted Advisor. The correct answer is A. AWS WAF. Here is why. AWS WAF can inspect supported web requests and block requests that match SQL injection attack patterns. Why are the other options not correct? B. Network ACLs filter traffic by network rules, not SQL injection patterns. C. Security groups control network access to associated resources. D. Trusted Advisor provides best practice recommendations. Exam tip: WAF filters malicious web requests. Shield provides DDoS protection. Question number 638. An organization needs to run its application on Amazon EC2 instances. The company needs to keep the application on premises to meet a compliance requirement. What AWS offering can satisfy these requirements? Option A. Dedicated instances. Option B. Amazon CloudFront. Option C. AWS Fargate. Option D. AWS Outposts. The correct answer is D. AWS Outposts. Here is why. AWS Outposts extends AWS infrastructure and supported services, including EC2, to an on-premises location. Why are the other options not correct? A. Dedicated instances run on dedicated hardware within an AWS region. B. CloudFront is a global content delivery network. C. Fargate runs containers without server management. Exam tip: Outposts run supported AWS infrastructure and services on premises. Question number 639. An organization needs to connect its supported AWS services and VPCs. The company does not want to expose its internal traffic to the public internet. What AWS service can satisfy these requirements? Option A. Amazon Inspector. Option B. AWS Private Link. Option C. Amazon Connect. Option D. AWS Internet Gateway. The correct answer is B. AWS Private Link. Here is why. AWS Private Link provides private connectivity between VPCs and supported services without exposing traffic to the public internet. Why are the other options not correct? A. Inspector identifies software vulnerabilities and unintended exposure. C. Amazon Connect is a managed cloud contact center service. D. An internet gateway provides VPC connectivity to the internet. Exam tip. Private Link privately connects VPCs to supported services. Question number 640. What AWS service can manage permissions for AWS resources by using policies? Option A. Amazon Inspector. Option B. Amazon Detective. Option C. AWS Identity and Access Management IAM. Option D. Amazon Guard Duty. The correct answer is C. AWS Identity and Access Management IAM. Here is why. IAM uses policies to define which actions identities can perform on specified AWS resources. Why are the other options not correct? A. Inspector identifies software vulnerabilities. B. Detective helps investigate security findings. D. Guard Duty detects malicious activity and unauthorized behavior. Exam tip. IAM policies define permissions for AWS identities and resources. Question number 641. An organization needs to run some of its workload in the AWS cloud. The company needs to keep some of the workload in its own on-site data center due to compliance reasons. What AWS service can satisfy these requirements? Option A. AWS Config. Option B. AWS Outposts. Option C. Amazon Lightsail. Option D. Amazon Connect. The correct answer is B. AWS Outposts. Here is why. Outposts supports a hybrid architecture by extending AWS infrastructure and services to the company's on-site data center. Why are the other options not correct? A. AWS Config tracks resource configurations and compliance. C. Lightsail provides simplified cloud resources in AWS regions. D. Amazon Connect is a managed contact center service. Exam tip. Outpost supports workloads that must remain on premises. Question number 642. An organization that operates on-premises servers decides to start a new line of business. The company determines that additional servers are required for the new workloads. What advantage of cloud computing can help the company to provision additional infrastructure as quickly as possible? Option A. Benefit from massive economies of scale. Option B. Increase speed and agility. Option C. Trade fixed expense for variable expense. Option D. Go global in minutes. The correct answer is B. Increase speed and agility. Here is why. AWS resources can be provisioned in minutes, allowing the company to launch its new workloads without waiting for hardware procurement. Why are the other options not correct? A. Economies of scale reduce per unit infrastructure costs. C. Variable expense reduces the need for large upfront purchases. D. Going global concerns rapid geographic expansion. Exam tip. Agility means provisioning and experimenting rapidly. Question number 643. An organization wants a solution that will automatically adjust the number of Amazon EC2 instances that are being used based on the current load. What AWS offering can satisfy these requirements? Option A. Dedicated hosts. Option B. Placement groups. Option C. Auto-scaling groups. Option D. Reserved instances. The correct answer is C. Auto-scaling groups. Here is why. An auto-scaling group automatically adds or removes EC2 instances according to demand, health, and configured scaling policies. Why are the other options not correct? A. Dedicated hosts provide dedicated physical servers. B. Placement groups control how instances are placed on infrastructure. D. Reserved instances provide pricing benefits but do not scale capacity. Exam tip: auto-scaling adjusts EC2 capacity. Load balancers distribute traffic. Question number 644. What AWS service or feature requires an Internet Service Provider, ISP, and a colocation facility to be implemented? Option A. AWS VPN. Option B. Amazon Connect. Option C. AWS Direct Connect. Option D. Internet Gateway. The correct answer is C. AWS Direct Connect. Here is why. Direct Connect commonly requires connectivity through a service provider or an AWS Direct Connect colocation location. Why are the other options not correct? A. AWS VPN establishes encrypted connectivity over the Internet. B. Amazon Connect is a managed cloud contact center service. D. An Internet Gateway attaches directly to a VPC. Exam tip: Direct Connect uses dedicated connectivity through a Direct Connect location. Question number 645. What AWS service or feature supports governance, compliance, and risk auditing of AWS accounts? Option A. Multi-factor authentication, MFA. Option B. AWS Lambda. Option C. Amazon Simple Notification Service, Amazon SNS. Option D. AWS CloudTrail. The correct answer is D. AWS CloudTrail. Here is why. CloudTrail records supported AWS API and account activity for governance, compliance, operational auditing, and risk auditing. Why are the other options not correct? A. MFA adds an additional authentication factor. B. Lambda runs event-driven code without managing servers. C. Amazon SNS provides publish-subscribe messaging. Exam tip: CloudTrail provides an audit history of AWS account and API activity. Question number 646. An organization is building an application that will receive millions of database queries each second. The company needs the data store for the application to scale to meet these needs. What AWS service can satisfy this requirement? Option A. Amazon DynamoDB. Option B. AWS Cloud9. Option C. Amazon Elastic Cache for Memcached. Option D. Amazon Neptune. The correct answer is A. Amazon DynamoDB. Here is why. DynamoDB is a serverless NoSQL database that can automatically scale to handle very high request volumes with low latency performance. Why are the other options not correct? B. Cloud9 is a cloud-based development environment. C. Elastic Cache for Memcached is an in-memory cache, not the primary database. D. Neptune is a managed graph database. Exam tip: DynamoDB supports highly scalable key-value and document workloads. Question number 647. An AWS user needs to proactively detect when an instance or account might be compromised or if there are threats from attacks. What AWS service should the user choose? Option A. Amazon Guard Duty. Option B. AWS WAF. Option C. AWS Shield. Option D. Amazon Inspector. The correct answer is A. Amazon Guard Duty. Here is why. Guard Duty continuously monitors AWS data sources to detect compromised accounts, instances, and other malicious or unauthorized activity. Why are the other options not correct? B. AWS WAF filter supported web requests. C. AWS Shield provides managed DDoS protection. D. Inspector identifies software vulnerabilities and unintended exposure. Exam tip. Guard duty detects threats. Inspector identifies vulnerabilities. Question number 648. What is the most secure way to store passwords on AWS? Option A. Store passwords in an Amazon S3 bucket. Option B. Store passwords as AWS Cloud Formation parameters. Option C. Store passwords in AWS Storage Gateway. Option D. Store passwords in AWS Secrets Manager. The correct answer is D. Store passwords in AWS Secrets Manager. Here is why. Secrets Manager encrypts and controls access to passwords and other secrets, and can automate rotation for supported credentials. Why are the other options not correct? A. An S3 bucket is not the purpose-built password management service. B. Plain cloud formation parameters can expose sensitive values. C. Storage Gateway connects on-premises applications with AWS storage. Exam tip. Use Secrets Manager for secure secret storage and rotation. Question number 649. An e-commerce company needs to distribute traffic between the Amazon EC2 instances that host its website. What AWS service or resource can satisfy these requirements? Option A. Application Load Balancer. Option B. AWS WAF. Option C. AWS Cloud HSM. Option D. AWS Direct Connect. The correct answer is A. Application Load Balancer. Here is why. An application load balancer distributes HTTP and HTTPS traffic across healthy EC2 instances that host the website. Why are the other options not correct? B. AWS WAF filter supported web requests. C. Cloud HSM provides dedicated hardware security modules. D. Direct Connect provides dedicated connectivity to AWS. Exam tip. An ALB distributes web traffic across multiple application targets. Question number 650. An organization's cloud environment includes Amazon EC2 instances and application load balancers. The company needs to improve protections for its cloud resources against DDoS attacks. The company also needs to have real-time visibility into any DDoS attacks. What AWS service can satisfy these requirements? Option A. AWS Shield Standard. Option B. AWS Firewall Manager. Option C. AWS Shield Advanced. Option D. Amazon Guard Duty. The correct answer is C. AWS Shield Advanced. Here is why. Shield Advanced adds enhanced DDoS detection and mitigation for protected resources and provides near real-time visibility into detected attacks. Why are the other options not correct? A. Shield Standard provides automatic baseline protection with less visibility. B. Firewall Manager centrally manages supported security policies. D. Guard Duty detects suspicious activity, but is not the DDoS protection service. Exam tip. Shield Advanced adds enhanced protection and DDoS event visibility. Question number 651. An organization needs to update its online data processing application by implementing container-based services that run for 4 hours at a time. The company does not want to provision or manage server instances. What AWS service can satisfy these requirements? Option A. AWS Lambda. Option B. AWS Fargate. Option C. Amazon EC2. Option D. AWS Elastic Beanstalk. The correct answer is B. AWS Fargate. Here is why. Fargate provides serverless compute for containers and supports long-running container tasks without provisioning or managing EC2 instances. Why are the other options not correct? A. Lambda functions have a maximum execution duration and do not suit a 4-hour task. C. Amazon EC2 requires the company to provision and manage instances. D. Elastic Beanstalk deploys applications, but still provisions underlying resources. Exam tip: Fargate runs containers without managing servers. Question number 652. What AWS service enables users to create copies of resources across AWS regions? Option A. Amazon Elastic Cache. Option B. AWS Cloud Formation. Option C. AWS Cloud Trail. Option D. AWS Systems Manager. The correct answer is B. AWS Cloud Formation. Here is why. Cloud Formation stacksets can deploy repeatable stacks and corresponding resources across multiple AWS accounts and regions. Why are the other options not correct? A. Elastic Cache provides managed in-memory caching. C. Cloud Trail Records supported AWS API and account activity. D. Systems Manager operates and manages supported resources. Exam tip: Cloud Formation stacksets deploy consistent resources across accounts and regions. Question number 653. An organization needs to manage access and permissions for its third-party software as a service, SaaS, applications. The company needs to use a portal where end users can access assigned AWS accounts and AWS cloud applications. What AWS service should the company use to satisfy these requirements? Option A. Amazon Cognito. Option B. AWS IAM Identity Center, AWS Single Sign-On. Option C. AWS Identity and Access Management IAM. Option D. AWS Directory Service for Microsoft Active Directory. The correct answer is B. AWS IAM Identity Center, AWS Single Sign-On. Here is why. IAM Identity Center centrally manages workforce access to AWS accounts and supported SaaS applications through a user access portal. Why are the other options not correct? A. Cognito provides identities for customer-facing web and mobile applications. C. IAM manages permissions within AWS but is not the centralized workforce portal. D. Directory Service provides managed directory capabilities. Exam tip: IAM Identity Center centralizes workforce access to AWS accounts and applications. Question number 654. An organization needs to manage multiple logins across AWS accounts within the same organization in AWS organizations. What AWS service should the company use to satisfy this requirement? Option A. Amazon VPC. Option B. Amazon Guard Duty. Option C. Amazon Cognito. Option D. AWS IAM Identity Center. The correct answer is D. AWS IAM Identity Center. Here is why. IAM Identity Center provides centralized sign-in and permission management for multiple AWS accounts in an AWS organization's environment. Why are the other options not correct? A. Amazon VPC provides logically isolated networking. B. Guard Duty detects malicious and unauthorized activity. C. Cognito authenticates users of web and mobile applications. Exam tip: use IAM Identity Center for centralized multi-account workforce access. Question number 655. An organization needs to log in securely to Linux Amazon EC2 instances. How can the company accomplish this goal? Option A. Use SSH keys. Option B. Use a VPN. Option C. Use end-to-end encryption. Option D. Use Amazon Route 53. The correct answer is A. Use SSH keys. Here is why. SSH key pairs provide public key authentication for secure remote login to supported Linux EC2 instances. Why are the other options not correct? B. A VPN secures network connectivity, but does not authenticate the Linux login itself. C. End-to-end encryption is a broad concept, not the EC2 login mechanism. D. Route 53 provides DNS and traffic routing services. Exam tip: SSH keys authenticate Linux EC2 logins. Protect the private key. You have completed Part 12 of the CLF-C02 practice series. Continue your preparation by opening the complete playlist and watching the remaining parts in sequence. Please like this video, subscribe to Tech with Kaushik, and enable notifications for more certification exam preparation content. Share your score, questions, or feedback in the comments. Thank you for watching. See you in the next part.